911, what's your emergency?
My daughter, I woke up this morning and she's not in her bed. She's missing. She's 8 years old.
Has she ever left before?
No, never.
Happy birthday!
Just in so much danger. It's hard to come to peace with that.
Oh my God. Did you feed your sister that?
I did. It looked like a crime scene from what you would see in the movies.
Welcome back to Mysterious Hook, where we shed light on mysterious cases from across the country. Today we'll delve into the unsettling case of Christine Hatfield, an 18-year-old cold case that was finally solved in 2015, thanks to technological breakthroughs in forensic science. But first, if you still haven't subscribed to our channel, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, as it motivates us to create more intriguing content for you. So without further ado, let's dive right into this mystery. Oklahoma City, also known as OKC, is the capital and largest city in the state of Oklahoma, USA. This vibrant and dynamic city offers a unique blend of urban excitement and Midwestern charm. It is a place where modern amenities and a rich history seamlessly coexist. This city is home to major sports teams, including the NBA's Oklahoma City Thunder. Despite the tragic events of the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, Oklahoma City has experienced fluctuations in its crime rate over the years, with crime rates being higher than the national average. And it was in this town that the incident happened, which shook the people to their core. To go back to where it began on February 12, 1989, Christian Hatfield was born to her mother Shannon Hatfield in Oklahoma County. Not much is known about who her father was. Shannon soon became a single mother, and she lived with Kristen's uncles while raising her daughters, Kirsten and Faith. In 1997, Kirsten was a second grader at Traub Elementary School in Midwest City, Oklahoma. On May 13, 1997, Kristen's mother, Shannon Hatfield, followed their usual bedtime routine and tucked Kirsten and Faith into bed around 11:30 p.m. Little did Shannon know this would be the final moment she would see one of her daughters. She left the bedroom door slightly open and went to bed. Around 3 a.m. in the morning, she heard strange noises coming from the girl's bedroom. Though the thought of Faith talking in her sleep came to Shannon's mind, she still went to investigate. But by the time she reached the room, the noise had stopped. Oddly, she noticed that the door, which she had left slightly ajar, was now closed. Reluctant to disturb her daughters during the night, Shannon went back to sleep, a decision she would forever regret. The next morning on May 14, 1997, around 6 to 6:30 a.m., Shannon went to wake up her girls. Kristen's sister Faith was asleep nearby, but Kirsten was not in her bed. She was missing. Shannon searched around the house. She asked Faith where Kirsten was, but she knew nothing. Kristen's mother immediately called the police to report her disappearance.
911, what's your emergency?
My daughter, I woke up this morning and she's not in her bed. She's missing. She's 8 years old.
Has she ever left before?
No, never, never.
Except for the faint whining Shannon heard earlier, no one else in the house heard anything suspicious like a scream or signs of a struggle. It's believed that Kirsten had already disappeared from her room at that time Shannon heard the noise. If her mother had looked inside the bedroom when she heard the sounds of faint whining, she would have seen that Kirsten was gone. They could have started searching earlier and perhaps discovered something sooner. But this was not realized until the next day when Kristen's mother noticed something unusual. The bedroom door was closed, which was not normal. The police initially considered the possibility that Kirsten had left the house on her own during the night. They speculated that she might have gone to a friend's house, taken a walk around the neighborhood, or visited a nearby park. Although it may have seemed unusual, there were cases where children had left their homes at night and wandered around only to be found later. However, in Kirsten's case, the police's assumption turned out to be incorrect, and their initial theory was proven wrong. Upon examining Kirsten's room, the police noticed that her window was slightly open and found a small bloodstain on the windowsill. They searched the house and the yard for clues. Outside, they discovered Kirsten's bunched up underwear against the fence, also stained with blood. It was evident that Kirsten hadn't simply wandered off on her own. She had been abducted, putting her in immediate danger. The police understood the urgency of the situation and knew that time was critical. Kirsten was last seen at 11:30 p.m. the previous night, and her disappearance was discovered at 6:30 a.m. the next morning, a span of 7 hours where anything could have occurred. The police quickly began searching the neighborhood, questioning neighbors about any sightings of Kirsten or any unusual activity during the night. One resident reported hearing dogs barking around 2 to 3 a.m., but didn't find anything suspicious when he investigated. Blood samples from the underwear and windowsill were sent to the lab for analysis. Surprisingly, the results indicated that the blood did not belong to Kirsten. It was from an unidentified male. Now, Kirsten's mother was a single mom. Kirsten and Faith lived in their uncle's house with her. Shannon also had a history of drug abuse. Kirsten's uncles and their families were not very fond of Shannon. Considering Kirsten's family issues, the police didn't exclude any family members as potential suspects or individuals who might have knowledge about her disappearance. They thoroughly investigated everyone and followed up on every lead and tip they received. However, none of these avenues yielded any significant information, leading to a quick stagnation in the case. Over the years, Kirsten's name faded from the public conversation, and she became known as the girl occasionally featured on missing person flyers around town. Nonetheless, her family remained determined to find answers, and the police were equally committed to not giving up on the case. 18 years after Kirsten's disappearance, in June 2015, a new team joined the investigation into Kirsten's disappearance, taking a fresh approach. They decided to resubmit the DNA samples found on the window and the victim's underwear to the database. With advancements in technology as time passed, they hoped to find a match. DNA analysis was still developing in the late 90s, so someone who wasn't in the system then might be now. Chief Brandon Claves of the Midwest City Police Department had an unwavering determination to solve the case. Detective Daryl Miller also felt a strong connection to it. Miller and Brandon agreed to work on the case together. They possessed a complete male DNA profile from the crime scene, matching the bloodstains on the window and the underwear. Their first step was running the DNA samples through COIDES, the Combined DNA Index System. Unfortunately, they did not find a match, but they remained hopeful. They had a list of approximately 100 men to consider, since the DNA belonged to a male. They eliminated individuals who were clearly not involved and focused on those who seemed suspicious. They planned to visit them and collect DNA samples for comparison to the DNA found in 1997. One person of interest was a 55-year-old Anthony Palma, the neighbor who recalled hearing dogs barking around 2 to 3 a.m. on the night of the disappearance. Initially, he wasn't deemed suspicious during the questioning in 1997 when he was 38 years old. Palma claimed he was at home when Kirsten went missing, going to bed around 2 to 3 a.m. after hearing the dogs barking. In 1997, he was questioned due to his proximity to the Hatfield home and his alleged yard work for them, which he oddly denied. He also denied knowing Kirsten's mother. In June 2015, investigators decided to revisit Palma. His wife mentioned his emotional reaction to Kirsten's disappearance and his familiarity with the family. Palma recalled seeing a white Chevy truck at the Hatfield home the day Kirsten vanished. He agreed to provide a DNA sample via a mouth swab. On July 22, 2015, the Oregon State Bureau of Investigation confirmed that Palma's DNA matched the DNA found at the crime scene.
In July of this year, we received a report from OSBI that indicated the blood sample from Kirsten Hatfield's panties and also the blood on the windowsill matched Anthony Palma, and the match was 1 in 293 sextillion.
As investigators reviewed the old case file, they discovered discrepancies between the information provided by Palma and the contents of the file. They couldn't find any documentation indicating that his house had been searched in 1997. Detective Miller received the results and he exclaimed, "Anthony Palma was the killer." The DNA from the windowsill and underwear matched Palma's, despite his claims of being deeply affected by the case. He had lied to the police. They had never searched his home in 1997, raising suspicions about what might have been found then. Initially, Palma denied knowing the family, but Kirsten's mother remembered a conversation with him that left her uneasy. However, in her heightened state after her daughter's disappearance, she hadn't considered him a likely suspect and viewed everyone as strange and suspicious. But the friendly neighbor Palma already had secrets hidden in his life's history. Anthony Palma was born in 1959. The police found out that Palma had already served a year and a half of a 5-year sentence, long before he even lived beside the Hatfields. During his trial, another woman testified that Palma had drugged and assaulted her when she was 17. This revealed a pattern of troubling behavior. Authorities then delved into Palma's past and found disturbing incidents. In 1980, he was suspected of breaking into his girlfriend's sister's bedroom, assaulting her, and escaping before getting caught. The police saw his truck parked nearby, but lacked evidence for an arrest. He violently assaulted and attacked his landlord, leading to a conviction for assault and battery. Shockingly, Palma had been living near the Hatfields' home for 7 years. Kirsten was just 1 year old at the time he had moved there. Authorities were both thrilled to connect him to the case and stunned that he had been right under their noses all along. The impact on the family could only be imagined. Returning to the case by October 12, 2015, the investigators had gathered enough evidence to interview Palma. They asked him if he remembered anything unusual about the day, or even before Kirsten's disappearance.
I need to find her. I need to find Kirsten. Help me find her. I can't help you.
Palma responded by denying any involvement with Kirsten or her family, except for seeing a white truck in front of their yard. He claimed that he typically spent his time working on his yard and fixing neighbors' bikes, but denied calling the kids over to his house. He mentioned having a daughter named Tristy, who often played with the neighborhood kids. When asked if he had seen Kirsten and her mother Shannon around the neighborhood, Palma claimed to have seen Kirsten playing with another girl named Crystal, but he couldn't recall the specific time frame. He stated that he was generally cautious around people and didn't pay much attention to who was there. Palma denied having any interactions with Kirsten, never recalling helping her with her bike or talking to her. He asserted that he didn't know Kirsten or her family and wasn't aware of how long they had lived there. On the night of May 13, 1997, Palma said he didn't leave his house. He mentioned that his dog barked at the back fence, assuming it was due to the presence of other animals or dogs in the area. Palma didn't investigate further and simply called the dog inside before going back to bed.
I had a dog in the backyard about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He went to raising hell. It woke me up, and he was barking at that back fence. I just hollered at him, and he came in, and I went back to bed.
Palma expressed suspicion towards Shannon for leaving the house, believing that she should have stayed in case Kirsten returned or received a call. Palma brought up Shannon's drug use and mentioned allowing her brother, who was helping search for Kirsten, to stay at his place temporarily. When asked if Shannon's brother confided in him or provided any useful information, Palma denied it. During the interview, the investigators confronted Palma with the DNA evidence. His DNA was found on the windowsill of Kirsten's room and on the underwear discovered in the backyard. Despite his earlier claims of never being in the backyard or having any contact with Kirsten, Palma's repeated denial and lack of explanation for his DNA being present raised suspicions. Although there could be legitimate reasons for his DNA to be found in someone else's backyard, Palma's previous statements contradicted the evidence, leaving him with no credible explanation.
Tony, your blood is on her window. Your blood is on Kirsten's panties.
I don't see how that could happen.
Your DNA is in the backyard the morning that she was discovered missing, okay?
No, not me. I wasn't in that backyard. I don't know how my blood could have been there.
Tony, you were there. This is scientific evidence. It's not a debate.
After 18 years, on October 12, 2015, the same day after his interrogation, Anthony Palma was arrested and charged with the kidnapping and presumed first-degree murder of 8-year-old Kirsten Hatfield. During the trials in 2017, he pleaded not guilty, but on October 13, 2017, he was found guilty.
We are just, I can't explain it, but we are just floored by this miracle, and we are so...
On November 27, 2017, the jury convicted him, and he received a life sentence without parole. Surprisingly, he chose not to appeal his conviction, which is unusual for someone claiming innocence. Despite multiple opportunities, Palma refused to disclose the location of Kirsten's remains. Shannon, Kirsten's mother, wrote to him in prison 3 times, but he asked her to stop. On January 11, 2019, Palma was strangled to death by a cellmate who was serving a life sentence for first-degree murder. He was 59 years old. Although Palma likely knew where Kirsten's remains were, the family still hoped that someone else might have received that information and will come forward. Shannon displayed compassion by expressing forgiveness and not wanting Palma's life to end in such a manner.
I'm not celebrating Anthony Palma's murder. I'm not celebrating that, and I actually am praying for his family.
The case was considered solved, although the location of Kirsten's body remained unknown. One lead suggested her body might be buried in a neighboring town, but a search yielded nothing. Palma's house was thoroughly searched inside and out, but no evidence was found. Inside the house, they did find children's teeth, but they belonged to Palma's own daughter. As he had kept them after playing the tooth fairy. Kirsten's family chose to forgive Palma for what he had done, hoping that their forgiveness would lead him to reveal the location of Kirsten's body. Unfortunately, he never did. She had already expressed her forgiveness in a letter to Palma, wishing he would find it in his heart to provide the information they sought. The abduction of Kirsten Hatfield was a case that made the alliance of forensic science with criminology more substantial. But Kirsten's body is still not found.
Oh my God! Did you feed your sister that?
What are your thoughts on this case? Share your opinions in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. If there's a case you'd like us to cover, don't hesitate to drop your recommendations in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating true crime stories. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes peeled for the next mystery to unfold.